Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Good morning. Welcome to Good Morning Crypto, where we turn your early hours in the morning into your edge in financial freedom. Today, I've got a headline that I thought was absolutely fascinating. It is Jerome Powell admitting that Bitcoin is digital gold. And this came along with his speech yesterday, where he gave a decent amount of information if you read between the lines. So let's dive on in and get you prepped for some success today. I've got the stock heat map pulled up. I've got Apple doing just a fair bit above neutral, up 0.15, and in the pre-market up 0.01 right now. We've got Nvidia, which did pretty well yesterday, up 3.48, and in the pre-market is up 0.06 right now. Berkshire Hathaway continuing on its losing streak. It is down 0.4 from yesterday and is up 0.22% right now. We do have Amazon continuing on its gains with all of the holiday sales that it has been doing. It is up 2.21% from yesterday, and the pre-market is looking pretty neutral. It's just at that wavering point of 0 to about negative 0.05% this morning. That's what it's been fluctuating at. We do have Walmart, which is up 1.01% from yesterday. Eli Lilly is also doing pretty decent. We've got it up 2.03%, and in the pre-market up 0.44%. ExxonMobil, on the oil news from yesterday, took a little bit of a dive. It is down 2.88%, and in the pre-market, continuing some of those losses, down 0.29%. Tesla is doing pretty decent. It is up 1.85% from yesterday, just up 0.08 in the pre-market right now. We do have Microsoft, which is sitting up 1.44%, and in the pre-market is up 0.09%. Google is also up 1.77 from yesterday, but in the pre-market is down 0.03%. Nothing big on that one. Meta, though, off of its news that it has a $10 billion facility that it will be breaking ground on, did not get a very big move. It's up 0.02% from yesterday, so looking pretty neutral on that news. And in the pre-market is up 0.04%, so nothing too big off of some big news from Meta. For the crypto side of things, though, it's pretty much all green right now. We've got Bitcoin up a 4.18%. Finally broke that $100,000 mark a little bit after I thought it would. I was hoping for that November 100,000, but looking like that first week of December was what got us there. We got Ethereum up 2.73% right now. XRP coming back with some of those gains. It is up at 2.2%. We've got BNB, which is sitting neutral. It's down 0.17%, but it had made some gains the past few days. We do have Solana, which is up a 4.8%. Dogecoin is up a 3.18%. We've got Cardano up a 3.4%. We've got Lido staked ETH up at 2.7%. Tron coin taking back some of those losses that it had taken from the big move up, is up a 1.9%. We do have Avalanche, which is sitting neutral. It is down 0.28%. Toncoin is up 1.55, and Polkadot continuing on its gains, up 5.3 right now. Let's hop over to that economic calendar real quick and take a look at things, because we do have a little bit of data coming out today. Oh, there's my Alexa in the background. Let me mute her. We do have a balance of trade coming out today for America and Canada. We do have imports and exports, which always goes along with that balance of trade. That will be coming out here at 8:30 this morning Eastern time. We do have initial jobless claims coming out as well this morning at 8:30. Later in the day, we do have a Fed chair speaking. Fed Barkin will be speaking at 11:30. And a little bit later in the day, we do have the Bank of Europe green speech. So that will be a one for the European markets that has some slight chance to move price just a little bit. More TradFi price than anything else. And a little bit later in that day, we will be seeing some data coming from Australia, and that's going to be home loans month over month and investment lending for homes. And this will have more of an impact on that Asia market, and it's definitely going to be something that Japan is going to be taking into account, because at the same time that we are looking at cutting rates, Japan is looking at the rate hike. They're coming in with that 60% chance of a rate hike on December 18th, December 19th, when their Bank of Japan is meeting, and that's the same time frame that we are looking at cutting rates again. We just went up to a 74% chance off of Jerome Powell's speech yesterday. Let's hop over to the fear and greeds. We do have the stock market sitting down a point out of extreme greed. We're at 56 and greed. We do have the crypto market, which off of that move to the upside yesterday is back in the 80s and in extreme greed. It is up 6 points from yesterday. For the liquidation heat map, this is the 24-hour. We do have some hot spots to the bottom side of us. The first little hot spot is going to be that $101,000 mark. And a little bit lower, we do have some around 98,000. And then the very bottom side, going to be that 94,400, and to the bottom side of that 94,200, and that's where a bunch of that liquidity had stacked up last time. I don't know if we go grab that anytime soon though. Let's zoom it on out to a 3-day and maybe touch on one more higher time frame. As you can kind of see here, when you zoom out to those higher time frames, there's not really any hot spots that have piled up to either side of us. You do have the little hot spot down here at that 94 range, which is definitely something that has been stacking up for a while. If you zoom it on out to that monthly view, you can kind of see we've taken out a bunch of the liquidity to the top side of us. That was back here at that 100,000 mark where people started shorting the last time we had gotten up close to there. So blasted through, took out all that liquidity with this last move up. As you can see, there's that CME FedWatch tool up to 74% on that cut. So definitely something to look forward to here right before the holiday season. Let me take a look at the chat real quick. We've got French Toaster in here with the Chan Demand. Good morning. Good morning, French Toaster. We've got Conspiracy Crypto. What's up, Crypto fam? How are you doing this morning, Conspiracy Crypto? We got Darren Does Things in here. Ayo fam, a bit late, about 2 minutes behind, catching up on 2X. Lol. If you've never been late to a Piper show and you put him on 2X, it cracks me up. I've done that a few times to try to catch up, and oh my God, I can only imagine what I sound like on 2X. We've got Conspiracy Crypto saying hello alt season. Dante Cabrero in here. Good morning, good morning. Baba Yaz in here. Good morning. I'm up early. Put on the coffee. I am also caffeinated this morning. I decided not to push back my caffeine intake for the morning like I've been doing most of the week, and I feel like it's playing out a little bit better. I am definitely more awake than I have been for the past week. So here's the Bitcoin chart for y'all. We've got that right at that top of the range that I've been looking for a while. Let me zoom it on out to that daily look so you can kind of see here that a lot of this is creating a fair value gap on the way to the upside. As you can kind of see here, we did wick above that Fibonacci extension that I've had drawn for a little while. This was the top side, that one line at that 102,700 to 796. So basically 102,800. And we pulled back down to that one line on your fib extension extremely nicely. And we have kind of paused there. You do have your money flow on that daily chart, which is still a little red. It is definitely changed from that outflow though, and is now more of a light red than anything else. And this is what we were wanting to see for that move to the upside, was that money flow coming back in to kind of rescue things on that higher term time frame and allow us to continue to push to that upside. I kind of thought that $103,000 mark would be a 103 to 104. I talked about it in the chats, that 103.5 to 104.5 was kind of that range that I felt like we would kind of take a pause at, and kind of around what we hit. We hit right between there at that 104, just a little bit higher than that. So basically that mid-range of it. You do see on your daily term time frames that we can continue that move to the upside though. You do have your MACD, which is set to curve and cross that indicator line on the top side of things, which is normally an indicator of a more explosive move. You do have your prime oscillator, which is set some divergences on that daily term time frame, but you're seeing that prime oscillator go from red to light red here in the past day. So just waiting for that to really tick green and see some more of that daily, those daily explosive candles like we just saw here. So let's zoom it on in just a little bit to that 4-hour chart and take a look at there. We do see your prime oscillator is kind of getting a little bit of curvature, as well as your MACD is moving more sideways. You do have very, very green money flow on this 4-hour chart though. And as you start to see that spill over to that daily chart, you'll see more of that continued move to the upside. Seeing a little bit of hesitation here at the top of this Fibonacci extension is definitely something that is not too worrisome, especially since all of this is a fair value gap below us to that move up. We could expect maybe some slight moves down. As you can kind of see here, this giant candle has pretty even wicks on both sides of it and a nice full body that allows for a lot of testing on. I would expect a little bit of some sideways to slight downwards movement for just a little while we're waiting on something to really kick things off for that. I feel like it could be kind of news driven. If you do see some big article come out today, or maybe some of that data that I had talked about where balance of trade, or later in the day when you're seeing that Fed chair speech, you could get some continued movement to the upside. Let's zoom it on in just a little bit more. Take a look at that hourly for you. As you can kind of see here, when we're getting this sideways movement on your MACD, it is more of a consolidation move on the price. You do still see massively green money flow on that hourly chart. And as your prime oscillator is cooling off with this red move to the downside just a little bit, we aren't seeing very strong moves to the downside on Bitcoin. So definitely something you want to see as you cool off here. The price move more sideways and not see that giant move down to close that fair value gap. It does allow it to come get tested later, but will also allow it to explode to the upside if you see some continued money flow coming on in. Let's zoom it on in just a little bit more. Take a look at that 15-minute chart so we can kind of gauge how the morning might go for us. As you can kind of see here, the money flow on your 15-minute is a little bit red. It's nothing too worrisome though. Your prime oscillator with your money flow being red is turning to that light red point, but you could still see it cool off just a little bit more here at the top side of this range. As you can kind of see here, there's been a lot of waffling around this 102,800 point. So definitely something we're going to need to turn into some support, because as you can see back here, when we bounced off of it, we came down very quickly and have moved to the top side and then back to the bottom side here. So definitely seeing some cooling off. Your MACD line is also getting some curvature here. So if you see a little bit of divergence from this one here, where your prime oscillator continues down, but your MACD is getting some more curvature to go to the upside, then you can kind of wait for that money flow to come back in and really move things up to the upside targets. So that next real target, we're going to have to draw another Fibonacci extension on, because the next line on that is way up here at $113,000. And I don't think we're going to make all of that move all at once. I do think the move to 113,000 is going to be based more on the interest rate cuts that we do see come in later in December, and that's going to be sometime around, if it'll zoom out far enough, somewhere over here. Oh, a little bit further. Let's zoom it on out just a little bit more. See if it'll give us that look. I guess it's not going to zoom out that far on the 15-minute time frame. Let's go to that daily and zoom it on in just a little bit. As you can kind of see here, that interest rate decision is going to be right here. So let's kind of draw a line for so we can get that. There we go. That's going to be right here. So that's going to be our interest rate cut, and that interest rate decision, and most likely going to be a cut. I feel like that's going to be the real news drop that is going to blast us up towards that $113,000 range, and that's right before that Christmas time frame, y'all. We normally do see a little bit of some pumping before holidays, and we normally cool off on those actual holidays. So just something to keep in mind. This interest rate decision coming from both Japan and the US on the 18th is going to be the big market mover here for December, and could really push us to that $113,000 range. Let me say hello to the chat again. I did see some more people coming in here. We have Woody in here with a good morning. Arsan246 with a good morning as well. Good morning, good morning. Hope y'all are doing great today. We do have this article here. Let me zoom it on in just a little bit so you guys can get a better view on that. Oh, let me zoom it on out just a little bit. There we go. Fed Chair Powell. Bitcoin is just like gold, except that it is digital. I guess he's finally figuring out what the rest of us have known for quite a while now, or he's just now willing to admit it. So, on December 4th, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, speaking at the New York Times Deal Book Summit, provided a comprehensive overview of the U.S. economy, inflation trends, and his views on cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin. Economic strength and inflation, Powell described the U.S. economy as being in a very good place, highlighting the robust growth and a resilient labor market. Inflation, while still a concern, has shown signs of easing. This economic strength allows the Fed to adopt a more cautious approach to lowering interest rates. The next Federal Reserve meeting, scheduled on December 17th, 18th, will be a pivotal in determining the path forward on monetary policy. Cautious rate cuts, given the economy's stronger than expected performance, Powell indicated that the Fed could be more measured in its interest rate cuts. He noted that while growth is robust, inflation remains slightly elevated, necessitating a balanced approach. The Fed's plan to lower rates in 2025 are clear, but the magnitude of these cuts remains uncertain. Powell emphasized the need to achieve a neutral interest rate level that supports stable economic growth. Potential impacts of tariffs. Powell addressed the potential impact of President-elect Donald Trump's pledge to increase tariffs, which could affect consumer prices and keep inflation elevated. However, he stated that it is premature for the Fed to make policy decisions based on these potential tariffs, as their specifics and global reaction are still uncertain. Governance and political dynamics. Powell faces a complex governance situation given Trump's past criticism of the Fed. Despite this, Powell expressed confidence in his relationship with the incoming Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and anticipated a productive working relationship similar to those with previous Treasury secretaries. Bitcoin and crypto. Powell drew comparisons between Bitcoin and gold, describing Bitcoin as a speculative asset rather than a form of payment. He noted Bitcoin's volatility and its role as a digital competitor to gold rather than the US dollar. Powell emphasized the Fed's focus on ensuring that interactions between the crypto industry and banks do not threaten the financial health of banks. He clarified that the Fed does not directly regulate crypto, and when asked, confirmed that he is not permitted to own crypto himself. So definitely something that he's been reluctant to admit in the past, that Bitcoin is just like digital gold, and it's something we've all been talking about for quite a while now. It's that digital asset that is a hedge against inflation, and it's finally getting that recognition that we've all been waiting for, even from the Fed itself now. And I find it interesting that right shortly after Jerome Powell says that Bitcoin is like gold, just digital, we get that move to 100,000. As Arsan says, he helped take over the 100K line. And I kind of have some agreements in that maybe Jerome Powell helped Bitcoin just a little bit by admitting that he finally wants to say that Bitcoin is like gold, but it's digital. And it's something I've been wanting to hear, because he's definitely been a little hesitant to talk very positive about crypto, along with the rest of the government, except for you've got your congressmen that are pro-crypto. You do have Trump, who is extremely pro-crypto and has talked good about Bitcoin. But for the most part, when these politicians have been in office, we haven't got a lot of recognition from them on the positive traits of Bitcoin. There are your few outliers, but on a whole, you don't see government chairs in big positions like this really indicate that they have a positive view on crypto. And it's nice to start seeing this sentiment changing, and it is definitely going to be driving more people in here when you have Fed chairs who are talking positive about crypto, when you have the SEC, the new leader of the SEC, who Trump wants in there, being very pro crypto, when you have the Treasury Secretary who is a pro crypto candidate. All of these things where you're getting it from a government level as a stamp of approval are definitely going to help things. I think the biggest part besides that in Jerome Powell's speech yesterday is going to be his stance on the interest rate cuts. There have been predictions of where the interest rate is most likely to end up at the end of their cutting cycle, and that's somewhere between that 2.5 to 3.25 range. And we're really just waiting to kind of see that speed of cutting. And with Jerome Powell saying how he thinks that the economy is more robust, and going into 2025, we might see a little bit of a slowdown on the speed of these cuts. They are a little less necessary as you're seeing a lot of strength in comparison with other countries in the world. So definitely something to keep in mind going into 2025. The speed of these cuts might slow down just a little bit. You might get some of that, oh, we're waiting to see this sign before we get to cut. And it might be a 2 to 3 month gap on your actual cutting. So just something to keep in mind with his speech. There was several things in there to kind of watch out for, because you're going to need to see these job numbers really start taking a little bit of a dive on things, or your producer side kind of take a little hit somewhere before we really want to see that next cut going into 2025. I did have a few of your TradFi assets pulled up. I had taken a look at gold yesterday. I talked about that mid-range of the fair value gap if we weren't able to come back above the 382 here on your Fibonacci extension, and it kind of played out like I was thinking it would. We ended up getting up to that 382 and dropping back below that midline of your fair value gap before kind of taking a little pause there. So we're right at the midline of that fair value gap, and as you can kind of see here, your money flow is going from light red and is kind of at that light green mark. You do see your MACD, if you zoom it on in here a little bit, is at that crossing point of your indicator line. So seeing that move up to the top side of your fair value gap and to the 50% line on your fib extension at that 2,672 mark is definitely that move I'd be looking for on gold if we do get some positive sentiment on some import-export data this morning. TradFi markets are going to be more impacted by that than your crypto markets. You do have the Russell 2000, which also played out on that fair value gap that I've had drawn out. It came right back down to that midline and continued to move on to the upside. So looking like we're going to leave this CME gap open for just a little while and test some of the range here. That was just an explosive move on your fair value gap, because as you can see here, all of this, let me draw it on out and make it a different color. As you can see, all of this right here is more of a fair value gap. Let me change that color to blue. and the mid. There we go. As you can kind of see there, all of this is a fair value gap from that move to the upside above that CME gap, and really faltering around that midline of it. So looking to make some strength on the Russell 2000, and I think we might see that move on up to the midline of that fair value gap at $2,438 today. Looking to make some strength at that point. As you can kind of see, it is right on the midline of a CME gap that we created moving to the downside. Let's hop over to the S&P real quick. I talked about that one yesterday and how I'd wanted to see that move on up to our platinum pocket around that 6,095 mark. We fell just a little bit short of that yesterday, but could definitely see the move on up to that today. You do have your money flow, which is looking a little bit red, but with your continued move to the upside, with us seeing a little bit of some outflow on it, is nothing too concerning. Would definitely want to see that touch on that 6,095 mark before that money flow really starts to kind of drag things down a little bit. You do have your CME gap, which is sitting right below us here, starting at that 6,066 mark and closes down here at that 6,050 mark. So definitely a point of attack if we end up faltering at that 6,095 mark, like I'm thinking we will with how that money flow is looking. You do have your NASDAQ, which has pushed above your platinum pocket on this extension now. As you can kind of see, it is looking to potentially continue that move on to the upside. You do have some reversal signals and a divergence that are starting to play out, but the market's extremely bullish right now on some of your TradFi markets, especially when you're seeing it held up by the big seven in some areas. So definitely looking for that top side target at 19,886. Might take us a couple days to get up to that point. I do see Alexandra G in the chat this morning. Good morning, good morning. Hope you're doing great and drinking your coffee this morning. Bobby Yaz in here with the when Jerome Powell says huge. Most definitely. And it's kind of something would be nice to hear Gary Gensler say before he gets booted as well. You know, he kind of waffles around on that. He talked very nicely about Ethereum when he was a professor, but he won't really say a whole lot while he's a chair at the SEC and in charge of things. We do have Bobby Yaz in here. They will be buying the ETFs now, most definitely, and I think we're going to see that continued money flow come in, but I don't think it's going to be during the day. As you know, the ETFs aren't required to buy this Bitcoin until the end of the day, and when they do have sales on their ETF, they are not required to fill those sales immediately. They are allowed a 30-day window. So if they already have Bitcoin in the reserves right there waiting, then they don't have to buy more. But just waiting to kind of see if you do get those inflows, which exceed what they have on hand, then you will start to see some of that OTC buying coming in at the end of the day. Just something to keep in mind. You might want to watch that blockchain data today. We might see some big inflows coming in. Alexandra G saying good morning. I'm listening in. Have a great day. Arsan asking for XRP update when possible. Yes, I will most definitely get to that here after the chat. If anyone else has any assets that they'd like me to take a look at, go ahead and drop those in the chat for me, and I will take a look at them when I can. Bobby Yaz saying, is Powell leveraging BTC's price to slow down rate cuts? Why is he commenting on BTC? I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that he's been asked a lot about it. You know, the US government has a significant amount of Bitcoin on their balance sheets. It is something that has been kind of keeping them afloat monetarily wise, because they can pay off a bunch of their debts right now if they so chose to sell. I don't think they're looking at selling, especially with Trump's sentiment that he wants to keep the Bitcoin that the U.S. holds and keep that forever. And this is something that's been keeping people asking about Bitcoin. And I believe that's why he's finally making the comments on it. He did get asked about crypto as well, and he has been continued to be asked about crypto. And eventually, you're going to have to make a statement. And I think that's something that's going to be helping the U.S. coming into 2025 under new leadership. I think the Bitcoin price might help us out a bunch if Donald Trump can play things out right. I think he said that he wants to keep a certain amount of it, maybe not necessarily the whole amount of the Bitcoin reserves that the U.S. has. I'll have to take a deeper dive into that and get back to y'all a little on another show. But if he holds a set amount and ends up selling off some of the Bitcoin, because they're holding something like 200 some odd thousand Bitcoin, you could definitely pay off some of these debts, bring down the deficit, bring strength to the US dollar at the same time that you are levying taxes on these other countries for importing their goods, which would kind of counteract some of the necessity to raise prices on the goods of Americans when your dollar's stronger and you're able to buy those things a little bit cheaper with your dollar and their dollar's a little bit weaker. It's just it's a whole combination of plays that could be coming in the next administration if they decide to play things the smart way. We'll just kind of have to see how smart they really play things out. French Toaster says Gary has been stacking crypto 100. I'd have to agree with that one. It might not be under his name, but if he's a smart man, which I'll have to like the man and some of the things that he said and some of the regulations that he's doing, but I definitely think the man is a little smart and he's probably been stacking that crypto. So let's hop over to the XRP chart. I did have ALGO that I had pulled up yesterday that would like to touch on. I had said that 382 bounce was a very likely move for us, and it looks like if we can get some money flow in here to kind of rescue things, we might see that 382 bounce come into play. If not, you might see that come down to that 50% line on a fib extent, the 50% line on your retracement down here at 43 cents, which also happens to be the platinum pocket on the Fibonacci extension that I had drawn out. And that's that 43 cents and 800 thousandths. So that's that Coinbase chart for y'all on ALGO. So if we can see that money flow coming back in, could definitely see that 382 bounce come into play. If not, and we continue to see this money flow go red, would definitely be looking for that 50% line and that bounce at 43 cents. So let's hop over to XRP real quick and take a look at that, because XRP has been able to find a little bit of strength here in this range. We did wick below the 1618 and that $22.30 mark. So definitely looking like we might come a little bit lower. As you can kind of see here, your money flow is starting to go red on that 4-hour. Your MACD line is kind of looking like it wants to go a little bit lower as well. So let's kind of pull up a Fibonacci retracement here to kind of see where we might land on some of these price points. Let me take a little bit better look at that. There we go. We've got your top side over there. Let me lock that real quick and then hide the Fibonacci extension that I've had drawn out so we can kind of get a better gauge. As you can kind of see here, you do see that lines up pretty well with that 382. It's looking like we might see us pull below that 382 and it not be that 382 bounce that we like to see so often on a continuation pattern. But you do have a bunch of fair value gaps that we created on this move to the upside. We have retested this fair value gap here and closed it completely. Just have this one over here. As you can kind of see, it is sitting in that 50% line to the golden pocket. So definitely something to keep in mind if we end up losing that 382. Seeing that $2.09 be hit would be that top side of that fair value gap, and seeing in between that could definitely be plausible. Let me see what that daily is looking like to see kind of how that fair. Yeah, it's this whole move is basically a fair value gap, and you don't really see where the start and finish is on 4 hours. That would be kind of where you get that best gauge there, because you do falter here at that golden pocket on this retracement line. So seeing some strength made here at the 50% line would definitely be the next point where I'd want to see some bounces, as it kind of flags out a bit, because as you can kind of see, we've got this resistance line to the top side of us over here. I'm going to kind of negate the candles there that go above it. It kind of touches there and goes through there. As you can kind of see, we did get a little bit of a move to the top side through it for a brief second, but it is very flaggy, and could definitely see some moves on up out of that. Let me get that bottom side. Just looking for another little touch there on the bottom side, and that's definitely in line with that 50% line on your Fibonacci extension. These are normally a bullish signal there, so if you draw your line here and kind of go to the top side and then moving on out, I like to move from either the top side or the mid. You can kind of see that your next target is right around that all-time high for XRP. Might take a little bit to kind of get to that unless we really see some more explosive movement with money flow going extremely green again. So just something to keep in mind for more of a longer term target if you like to swing trade. If you do see that coming on in, that next upside target would really be around that all-time high for XRP. Let me clean that all up. There we go. All right. Is there anything else anyone would like me to take a look at? Oh, can you do TA on something that anything you are looking at besides injective? I missed the boat on that one. I can definitely take a look at something that I like to take a look at as usernames in here. I think you might know what that asset is called. It is another one of my favorites. I I definitely have talked about it quite a bit. It's got a lot of potential for AI as well. I see Dusty Hunt in here. Good morning, good morning. Let me scroll on down and show y'all that asset that I've been looking at as well. We've got a near protocol. It is a layer one with a lot of AI potential and has been pretty explosive, especially when it moves on up to the upside. You do see, let me zoom it on out to that daily look for y'all. As you can kind of see here, a lot of this has been a move on. Username, is it far? Yeah, it's near and far, and it's going places. Looking for that top side target. We haven't been to in quite a while. I thought we might see some faltering here at some of our old highs here around that $7.80 mark. Fell a little bit short, came down to the highs here, and we've seen a little bit of some faltering. But that next move that I'm looking at for near is going to be that $8 mark. Let's kind of pull it all the way across. Extend that line out for y'all. Extend to the right. And then the one above that is kind of going to be that $8.50 mark. And would be the point where I'd really look at after that. Let's get it drawn out right. There we go. I'm super anal about that. I don't like when you draw a straight line horizontally and then it just kind of like, when you zoom it on out farther, it's like, oh, it's actually like this. You notice that sometimes when you zoom it on out. So as you can kind of see here, when you zoom on in just a little bit, we made a lot of strength here at this old high that I'd been wanting to see and exploded on out above it. I wanted to see some strength made on that 382 above it. Let's delete this one down there and get rid of this one as well, because looking for some higher side targets on near. As you can kind of see, if you zoom on in just a little bit and take a look at that hourly chart and get everything zoomed in a little bit, your money flow is coming back in on the hourly. Really looking to make some strength here at some old highs. As you can kind of see, we've blown above this range. Would want to see us really make some slight cool offs. As you can kind of see, you do have the target for your Fibonacci extension, your Fibonacci retracement being that top side at $9, and that was the old top side of the range that we had seen. Let me I believe that was another fib retracement that I've had drawn up for a while. Nah. So let's see. I guess I don't. I guess that's more of the locals. So, and this was the macro there. So we do have a top side target here at about $8.08 that I'd be looking at for near before we really start seeing some rejection, as your money flow is starting to look a little bit better on that hourly chart. As you can kind of see, if you zoom it on in on your 15-minute and kind of gauge how the morning's going, we are at that point on your 15-minute chart where you're starting to see it go green again, and your money flow is really starting to pick up. So seeing that move on up from $7.75, kind of where we are now, and moving on up to that $8 and about 8 cents would be a move that we would see after some strength is kind of made here in this range. It's an old high from way back here. If you really zoom on out and see it, I had shown you before. It's an area where we're making a more local high, with your money flow going extremely green on your 15-minute, your money flow going green on that hourly again. I'm really waiting to see that money flow go green on your higher term time frame where you got your 4 hour kind of faltering just a little bit. As you can kind of see, it's starting to scoop though. So definitely a signal where if we end up breaking some of these, that $8 target, that $8.08 target, we'd really take that move on up to $8.53. If you zoom it on out to the daily again, you kind of get that view where your money flow is solidly green all the way through on all time frames. So really waiting to see that shorter term time frame kick into gear on that 15-minute, because you are seeing those topping signals here, oversold back here where you just kind of blast it on through, looking to make a little bit of divergence there. Your MACD's kind of set where it could make a little bit of a cross. So just looking for those top side targets to really be smashed on near, as it does have a lot of AI potential. I don't see any other requests for the morning, so I'm going to take a quick look at a Sol. It's been doing extremely well. I guess I haven't drawn on this chart for a while, unless it's on the wrong one. Yeah, we do have this range that we've been bouncing off of for a little. Let me zoom it on out to a higher term time frame so you can kind of get that view on it. As you can kind of see here, we're making a little bit of a flagging pattern with your lows going here, and you got your highs coming in here, and really looking for another move on to the upside on it. Let me redo that just a little bit better. There we go. It is kind of waiting for that money flow to kick back in now. Let's zoom it on into that 4 hour, and you can get a better view there. You are getting some money flow coming in on Sol, and just waiting for it to really tick back up on that daily chart before we really explode on out. You do see a bunch of this being a flag pattern that we could blast through. Let's get a measured move off of, I guess, back here. Oh, I'll have to undo the extending to the right. And you can kind of see here, if you zoom it on out and zoom it on out and move it on over, that you've got some nice top side targets where if you come in from the middle, you do have that top side being around 316 or around that 330 mark. If you go from the top side, you're looking at about 340. So just seeing how long this consolidation phase goes on Sol before we really make that move on out of this range. You do have your top side of a Fibonacci extension being 273. So seeing us falter a little bit when we move on up, or just a slight pause on it, would definitely be a move that would be easy to see. As you can kind of see here, your 4 hour is getting some money flow, which looks like it's coming back down to the downside as we're approaching the top of this little flag pattern. If you kind of move it on in a little, you can kind of see where you've got, and negate those wicks and just go off those candle bodies. It's a little bit closer to that. So definitely kind of approaching a little bit of some local resistance here on Sol, as well as seeing the prime oscillator shooting straight up, just waiting for overbought signals. Your MACD also shooting kind of straight up on that as well. just kind of waiting for it to kind of cool off in the range before really exploding on out to those top side targets that everyone's been talking about on Sol. If you haven't been on the Sol train, definitely looking like a nice ride. We do have AVAX requested and Ondo. I will take a look at AVAX. As you can kind of see, I had some lines drawn out from a while back. I guess a while back. There we go. Yeah, some local highs from back here before we moved on down below that 50% on a fib retracement. I had looked at a fair value gap that might have gotten tested. It looks like it didn't get tested at all. So definitely saw that strength on the bottom side, local high, before we blasted on up to that 382 and came back down to the other local high and have really made an explosive move on out of there. You are sitting above that 382 right now and really looking to make that strength there. You do have your money flow, which is faltering just a little bit on your 4 hour. So waiting to see that really get rescued. You do have some divergences here that are looking like they've already played out. But if you do make another higher high here and continue with the upwards trend, that's going to put a little bit of some downside pressure on AVAX, especially as you've seen, most of this is a pretty explosive move to the upside and leaves a lot to be tested. You do have these massive wicks for testing here that show both buying pressure on the bottom and selling pressure for the top. So we're kind of waiting to see on that 53.84 mark if we can really create some strength there. Let's zoom it on in just a little bit. Take a look at that hourly chart. You do have your MACD, which is crossed your indicator line and looking to cross that zero line on your MACD with your money flow. It's really looking like some outflows though. Would want to see this start coming in green to really see that explosive move to the upside. Your prime oscillator is starting to turn green now, but really going to need the money flow to start coming back in. Otherwise, you're going to see some faltering here at this 236 and probably a drop below it to make some more strength down to the bottom side of it as we continue to retest that. You do have that $50 mark being that psychological level that we bounced off last time. So definitely something to keep your eye on. If you zoom it on in just a little bit more and take a look at that, you can kind of see that it is green money flow on your shorter term time frame, kind of faltering out on your MACD and your prime oscillator though. As you can kind of see here, you're getting that curvature on the top side, which is right along the top side of that 236 as well, and starting to get those overbought signals for it. So really looking to make some more strength down here at your $50 mark. As you can kind of see here, it was a rejecting point here and has been a bouncing point along as we try to reclaim this 236, and could definitely be a spot that we really come back down to bounce on and wait for higher term time frame, a money flow to really pick back up before we really try to reclaim some of these higher price targets at about $55. I see Jesse Gulak made it. Good morning, Jesse Gulak. Nice to see you here. Right as I'm winding the show down. It is 6:45 for me, and I've been going for an hour, and I gotta go do some stuff. So work's a little bit important. Making that fiat so you can buy that crypto and you can make more fiat is definitely something that we're all here for. Oh, Crypto Pollo. Good morning, good morning. Cluck, cluck, mother trucker. I hope everyone has enjoyed the show. If you haven't been paying attention to the rest of the shows on here and you didn't see that mad Markets After Dark with Lunar Beaches Crypto, I would go back and give it a watch. It was a great one. That $100,000 Bitcoin hit right before he went live. So definitely a great stream there. Make sure to tune in to the morning market report with Piper and OC Guy. I feel like it might be a special one since we hit that $100,000 mark on Bitcoin. We also have the Trade Academy with Trade Intuition coming on at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And it is Thursday, so last show of the week for TradeFly and FD White at Crypto Nightcap and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure to tune in to all those shows on the Piper Academy. Give them some love. Hit that like button for them and the like button for me. If you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscription and the notification bell because we go live about 5 times a day. So definitely a lot of alpha all day long. Other than that, I hope everyone wakes up because today's going to be a good day.